Hey is for horses. In this tutorial, we'll set up a knight with a sweet ride and forever friend. We'll also equip a bow that you can shoot. Cool. To follow along with me, you'll need the Malbers Horse Animset Pro asset from the asset store, and your character will need to be humanoid. I'll of course be using an Infinity PBR human equipped with our armor. Alright, let's giddy up, partners. I'll dive into the Malbers folders to bring in a realistic horse and a cowboy rider prefab. Those will be in the Malbers animation folder, in Horse Animset Pro, and in a folder called Prefabs. And then in horses, I'll switch it to a list view and bring in a realistic horse. Next, in the rider folder, I'll grab a Rider Combat Assassin Creed. Then I'll grab a prefab of our newly released Infinity PBR Horse. And sorry to kill the magic here, but I'm disabling the unicorn horn and the Pegasus wings. Our horse has a few different materials, so I will make a horse of a different color. And the tricolored horse has a darker mane. If there's a demo scene that has a lot of cool stuff in it, like the Malbers Demo, I like to bring that scene in with the scene that I'm working on. The scene I want is Riding Combat 3. This way I can load and unload the scene without moving back and forth from my scene. And I can also drag and drop or copy and paste things from this scene into my scene. Unloading the scene is easy, just right-click and select Unload. There's a shortcut I use to align my scene view with objects or cameras. That shortcut is Control-Alt-Space. So I'll select the camera and Control-Alt-Space, and then I'm right into that camera's view. So imagine you're storyboarding with someone like a director. This way you can go right to important shots in your scene. The goal here is to swap the Infinity character, or your character, into this rider setup because it has all the cool horse riding, weapon wielding functionality. The first thing to do is zero both of the characters to the same location. You could zero them to a world origin, but I'd like to stay in this spot in our lovely medieval town environment. So I'll make a empty object to be a local origin and zero the characters inside of that. I'm putting the origin inside the knight, zeroing the origin there. Then I'll drag the origin out to the world and put both characters inside, zeroing the position and rotation. When the knight is in the origin, the knight will already be at 000 because that's where we put the origin at. Then we can bring in the rider, and that's the one we'll need to zero out so that both characters are in the same spot. We're going to swap the knight into the rider, and to do that we need to unpack both prefabs completely. Right-click on your character and go to Prefab and Unpack Completely. Then right-click on the cowboy and unpack the cowboy completely. Then I want to disable the cowboy and the cowboy bones. This cowboy object has a skin mesh renderer and a material, so I know he's the guy I'm looking for. And I'll disable it with my Enable Disable shortcut, the tilde key, which is the same as clicking this button here, just a ton faster. Then I'll also disable the cowboy bones for now. At the top level, both the cowboy and the knight have an animator. The cowboy animator controls a rider avatar. We want the animator to control our character's bones for the animation. Click on your character and note what the avatar is called. Mine is Human Male version 4. I'll go back to the rider and click on the little radio button and search for Human Male. There he is. Now the cowboy's animator is looking at the knight bones. Now we want to take the child knight objects and put them all inside the rider. I'll select everything and move it over. You can also copy over any other scripts that are important to the character, like the Infinity character has blend shapes for character customizations, like their face and body. I'll copy the blend shape manager and then go to the cowboy and paste it in. All right, and there they are. Then I'll bring the rider outside of the origin, and I'll bring out the human object too and move the origin into my notes object. By the way, before we go much further, I made realistic eye textures and they are free on the asset store. And I don't mean to brag, but damn, they look pretty great. So definitely go and download those if you haven't yet. We're getting close to testing this out, I promise. Okay, so the camera I have in my scene is not set up with the rider. I can see in the common folder there are Cinemachine camera prefabs, but I think that the easiest thing to do would be to load up the demo scene. I'll right-click and load the scene. And yeah, all this camera stuff is what we can bring in. I'll take all of the prefabs, put them inside this camera label object, and then I'll copy it and paste it into the medieval town scene. I'll use that origin I made and zero the camera inside of that, and then pull it out. The other thing we can use is the UI. Let's take a look at the UI real quick. The UI has all of the controls for the weapon and bow and stuff. I'll do the same thing I did before. I'll move it inside this empty UI label object, and I'll copy it and paste it inside of the medieval scene, and then put it at the origin and zero it out. Then I'll unload the demo scene. I don't want to save it because I don't want those changes I made. I want to keep the demo scene as it is. Then I'll drag the UI out from the origin and click on the start camera and zoom into it with Control-Alt-Space. Oh, but Control-Alt-Space doesn't work because I have 2D enabled, so I'll do that again. It's kind of weird to have the UI in the world like that, and you can turn it off by just clicking on the little I by the UI label. Okay, and then I'll turn off the starting camera, which turns off post-processing because the new camera doesn't have any post-processing on it. All right, let's press play and see what happens. Okay, so we can punch with the left click. That's cool. Frame rate's kind of rough. I think I have too much in the way of grass and trees and stuff, just on the train elsewhere. Let's see if we can mount the horse. And we can. And we can ride the horse. Awesome. Let's try the bow and arrow. Hold right click to use the bow. Okay, so there's some weird bone stuff with the bow and arrow, and we don't have a bow and arrow. So we'll have to take care of that next. And if you look at the reins are messed up. So we gotta fix that too. But hey, we're 7 minutes in and already riding around. That's not bad. Outside of play mode, let's check out the rider. We want to look through the scripts to see if there are references to the cowboy bone transforms. We need to put the knight bones in their place. I usually start from the top and look through all the scripts, but I'll spare you that. Okay, we have an aim script, and it references a camera target that is enabled. That's good. I'll check out the rider script next. Rider has variables for the hand transforms. Let's click on those to see where they're at. It's helpful to turn on the cowboy here so we can see where on the body these transforms are at. We'll want to match that. So the bone looks like it's at the wrist. I'll lock the inspector of the parent object of the rider, and let's find a knight bone that works here. The human's armature starts with bone root, and then human pelvis, spine, rib cage, collarbone, down, 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 and finally base human right palm. And there's fingers and magic spawns in here, so I'll use this bone for now. Base human right palm, and I'll find the left palm and I'll do the same. If I were figuring this out, I'd go through these other tabs to see if there's anything else looking for transforms. This rider root is looking at the top level parent. That's fine. Okay, let's look at weapon manager. That sounds important. In general, yep, we want to put the same base human palm bones in here for the left and right hand. And there's a check mark here, use weapons only while riding. That's cool. Okay, let's take a look at the holsters. There's a note here that weapons are the child of the holsters, so we need to bring those holster transforms from the cowboy bones to the knight bones. I'll click on the holsters to see where they're at. Okay, left and right. And it looks like there's a holster back too. There's also this weapon button here. Watch the holsters on the left because if you click this button, weapons will spawn in the holsters. However, when I deleted them, I couldn't get them to spawn again. Maybe that'll work for you, but just in case it doesn't, I'll bring in weapon prefabs from the project folder. And the weapons are in, not here, in Horse Animset Pro, in prefabs, and weapons. There they are. Put the axe in the left holster. A throwable will go in the right. And the bow main will go in the back holster. Then we can turn on the cowboy bones and see the rotations look good. Next, we want to look at where on the body these holsters are nested. And I'm going to lock the inspector again here. Right spine looks like it is in the belly button of the cowboy. You want to move the right and left holster into the same position on the knight. So I'll fold the holsters up and let's check out which bone corresponds to that belly button spot. And not spine 2, spine 1. Yep, same spot. So I'll grab holster left and right and put them both into spine 1. The back holster is in right spine 2 in the middle of the chest. I'll bring it up and the middle of the chest is spine 3 on the knight. That looks good. Looks like there's also a holster for a spear. That's cool. And that's in the middle of the chest. So I'll bring that up as well. Maybe we can do a jousting tournament or something. I'll put the spear holster in spine 3. All right, then I'll turn off the cowboy bones and the cowboy. I'll unlock the inspector, and let's play the game to see how the weapons work. Well, the bow is there, and that's about the only good thing you can say about it. And the arms are still messed up, so let's fix both of those things. In the back holster, click on the bow. The bow has a tab called IK, Inverse Kinematics, and there's a profile scriptable object. Inverse kinematics is moving the hand and having the wrist and elbow rotations follow appropriately, from the hand inversely up the chain. Let's click on this to find where these profiles are kept. Now, you can duplicate one of the existing profiles, or you can right-click and go into Malbers Animations, Scriptables, and IK Profile. But I'll work from the duplicate because the left upper arm and left hand is already set up. My suggestion here is to zero out all of the rotations. Then you want to drop this profile, the one that you duplicated, into the bow main object in the IK tab. You can drag it in from your project folder, or you can click on the radio button and search for it. There it is. And like I said, zero everything, but I have some rotations here that worked for the Infinity character. So I'll press play and test it. And my rotations are wrong. I think I actually switched the positive and negative. That's it. And we're just looking at the arms here, not the bow. We'll fix the bow next. Okay, the arm looks good. I'm pretty sure you can find the right rotation by waiting until your character puts the bow away, trying a new value, and seeing if the new value works. Trial and error, tweaking stuff. Now we want to fix the bow. So go into General, and again, zero everything out. Also in bow, zero out everything related to the knot. And I think knot should be called knock, not knot. Knocking an arrow is placing an arrow on the bowstring. The bowstring going into the notch of the knock. I'm actually a proficient archer. And oh my gosh, I get to brag about my substance designer and archery skills in the same video. Awesome. Okay, so this is the process here. Play the game and right-click to aim the bow, and then press Ctrl-Alt-P to pause the game. Then click on the bow, and the bow is actually upside down, which is hard to tell. So with local rotation, press E and rotate to find a rotation that looks good for your bow, making sure that you flip it so that the arrow is on the right side. And once you find a good rotation, you can also adjust the position. And I'm seeing that the IK is not perfect either, but it's okay for now. The arm should be lined up straight. Rotate your view around so that you check the bow, that it's aligned with the body, parallel, and that looks good. So next, go to the kebab menu on the transform and copy the component, and then stop the game. And then paste component values into the bow's transform. We're going to reset this to 0, but what we want to do is take all the values here and put them below in the position and rotation for the bow. So it's just a placeholder. We could also write it down, I guess, but this is easier. Then reset the bow's transform to be 0 like it was. With those values in place, let's check to see if it works. And excellent, looks much better. That's the way to do it. And with left click, you can shoot arrows. So take that, barrel. All right, The next trick is going to be getting our Infinity PBR horse set up with the Malbers stuff. And you know the routine by now. We want to put our horses at the same origin. Let's get the origin we used before, and I'll put it inside the horse and reset the position and rotation. Then I'll put both horses inside the origin and zero them out, resetting the position, resetting the rotation. And the other one's already at the origin. Then unpack both horse prefabs completely. Okay, so in the realistic horse, there's a lot here. But let's disable the mesh and the bones. And the bones are in an object called rotator, so I'll disable that. I'll take all the Infinity horse stuff and put it inside the Malbers horse. Then the animator on the Pegasus wants the avatar Pegasus avatar. Malbers horse avatar needs to be swapped out, so I'll look for that. I'll type Pegasus, and there it is. Great. Let's see how this looks. I'll drag the horse out of the origin. Okay, F to mount, and the rider disappears. I thought it might not work. All right, so select the horse. The issue is with the mounting. So go to the mount script where it says links and click on one of these transforms. And this is similar to the holsters. We need to bring this mount base object into the Infinity horse. Let's look at where spine 1 is. Spine 1 is in the middle of the horse, a little bit back. Let's get the mount base object and put it in spine 1. That looks right. Let's put the mount base inside of that. If you're in the medieval scene, or even if not, you'll want to do this. This error comes from a script that's looking for the player tag. And this is a script for managing the building prefabs to activate when the player is near. So just go to the rider and change the tag from animal to player. I'm not actually sure why the rider's tagged animal to begin with, but okay, let's try it. And everything works. But you probably want the sound of the horse hooves clopping. Those are on track objects under the toes of the Malbers horse. On the track objects, there's a script and a collider for triggering the clopping sound. So just drag those objects from the Malbers toes to the Infinity horse toes, enable them, and you'll hear the clopping. And it all works. Awesome. All right, thanks so much for watching. Let us know if there's anything you'd like us to cover next with this. I'm thinking that jousting tournament idea is kind of fun, or even just fighting a monster. But I don't know, what do you think? Let us know in the comments. That's all from me for now. See ya.